What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Leave It to the Judges MMA show. I'm with the boys Xavier and Nicholas. Guys, it is John Jones fight week. The GOAT is back. How we feeling?
I feel fucking amazing. It's about time. Been waiting to see this fight for a long time, and it's finally here, man. God willing, they make it to the cage fine, and no one trips over any cords and shit. Knock on wood, but yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm pumped, but not this boring main event. These two old men fighting. Pumped for my boy Charles Oliveira to hop back in there. Whoop Michael Chandler's ass again. His old ass been sitting 2 years, so I'm pumped for that.
Okay, so obviously, guys, John Jones is the big storyline here. This card is pretty mid, pretty bad to be honest. The undercard, the prelims, nothing too crazy here. It's nice to see a prospect like Bo Nickel, but like not a lot of great fights on this card. Let's just talk about the main event. Let's get into it. John Jones coming back. It's been about 2 years since he submitted Cyril Gane in his heavyweight debut. He got, I think he had two surgeries preventing the Stipe fight happening this time last year. We're finally here. Stipe hasn't been in the octagon in damn near 4 or 5 years. Last time was in the COVID era against Ngannou, but he's back. What are you guys' thoughts on just the story and how we got here?
I mean, to me, the story is pretty straightforward. Um, at the end of the day, like injuries happen, and this fight got delayed a lot, but at the end of the day, like it makes sense why this fight is happening. Had this fight happened last year before Aspinall got the interim title and all of that, like it would have made perfect sense. This is a fight that John Jones has been talking about for a lot of years when he was used to dominate light heavyweight. Um, it's a matchup that he constantly, would chirp about and maybe project maybe going up one day. So when it finally happened, he finally got the title. Steve Hay was ready and willing. Like it makes a lot of sense. He's the heavyweight GOAT. Two GOATs going head to head. On paper, the storyline makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, what happened was an injury happened. And then Tom Aspinall had to fight Pavlovich for that interim title for the UFC to save a card, which we know that they tend to do. Just throw interim titles, throw BMF titles. They'll throw any title just to save a card. We've seen it live a million times. So like we all know that. And because these two, albeit like killers of the heavyweight division are fighting for this interim title, now the whole like plot line seems a little murky, right? Like I feel like the narratives last year around this time were not really negative surrounding this fight. And now all of a sudden, like it seems like this is more about Aspinall than about Stipe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly the storyline going into this. Will John Jones fight Aspinall after this fight? Because he's gonna win, let's be honest. He's gonna win this fight. He's fighting a 60-year-old who's at the firehouse, probably not training at all. So, I mean, coming off a 4-year layoff where he got knocked out in his last fight as well, I might add. And those are gonna be all the questions John is gonna get all week. Are you gonna fight Aspinall after this fight? You're gonna fight Aspinall, or you're gonna fight Aspinall. I don't know if he will, but um, I'll be interested to see because if they end up squaring up,
That'd be
ooh,
epic.
that could be one of the scariest challenges John has ever had to face. Let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like the mood around this fight's just pretty down. Like you said, Clark, we kind of know who's going to win. Aspinall, like everyone wants it to be Aspinall. Aspinall's picked up a couple dubs since the fight got canceled. So that like does not help. And yeah, with Stipe, man, like why hasn't he fought in these last 4 years? I don't think there was like any crazy injuries or anything. I don't know, but it just sucks. Like this fight would like, dude, if this was prime Stipe versus like Jones, even this Jones, whatever, this fight would be so hype. But yeah, like you said, it's just 4 years after his last fight. He's old. We don't know what he still has left. And I hate fights like this where like it's epic, but we already know who's gonna win. Let's talk about the X's and O's, guys. Uh,
Wait, real quick. I think that like one thing that like is kind of getting dismissed is like for all of what we can say about Stipe and his like inactivity, like heavyweight John Jones is still very much an unknown, and that's why like I'm not quite as ready to like dismiss Stipe's chances here, just because like he's been off for a while. Because like realistically, what how much has Jones fought in the last like 4 years, 5 years, like 2 minutes? You know what I mean? 2 minutes that we've seen against an opponent that, while it was an impressive win and how easy he made it, like clearly has some severe grappling deficiencies. I feel like had he dominated him, but like over had Jones dominated Gone, but over like a longer stretch of time, I would be like more confident in picking him against Stipe, or just anyone else, like Aspinall included. But the one thing that I still kind of feel in my stomach is the fact that like I have a lot of questions about heavyweight John Jones. And I feel like that is one thing that like one thing we can all probably agree on is like John Jones is probably not gonna knock Stipe out with a punch really quickly. That's never been his thing. He's never really had that kind of power in his hands. A second thing that we can, I think, all agree on is like no matter how old Stipe is, or all of that, how much inactivity, he will not show the same grappling deficiencies that Gon did. I don't think that John's gonna easily just take Stipe down and sub him in 1 minute. Like, you know what I mean? That's not just how I see it playing out. So I'm more curious, like, rather than like about how John Jones does against Stipe specifically. I'm more just curious as to like what heavyweight John Jones is really capable of because I feel like I never got to see that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
keep saying like we know who's gonna win, but it is gonna be a much more competitive fight than the Gone one. I could see Stipe landing some nice shots. He accelerates in boxing. I know he's a great wrestler, but I'd obviously give John Jones the grappling edge. And all the questions are revolving around heavyweight John Jones, at least to me, are just on the feet. Like, how can he compete on the feet? How much power does he have? How fast is he on the feet? How good is reaction time on the defensive end? Because, like, he's going to be able to
And
grapple.
cardio and his
Yeah, and
cardio.
cardio. He looks in much better shape than he did in his heavyweight debut. I feel like he, I guess, dialed in a little more. He got more used to his heavyweight body. He looks leaner than he did before. Where do you guys see Stipe finding some openings or opportunities to win and score in this fight?
You can kick us off, Clark.
I feel like John's biggest weapons a lot of time is his athleticism. And so I feel like a way for Stipe to take that athleticism away is definitely on the leg kicks early. I would say I'd say he needs to throw a lot of teep kicks up the middle, a lot of body kicks. I just think stuff like that. Because I think speed wise, he's gonna be at a disadvantage. Even though we don't know 100% what John's gonna look like, just the factor of age, I feel John is going to be faster in there naturally. Um, so I feel like a way for Stipe to slow John down would be that maybe a little bit of dirty boxing, some clinch work, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like Stipe's biggest advantage, and I would say quite literally probably his only advantage in this fight, is his boxing, his pure just with hands boxing. I think that one thing, like the one way I can even see Stipe having any chance in this fight, he's gonna have to take it to John Jones the whole time. John Jones he's not much of a combination guy. and that's partially why he's like been so hard to hit his whole career. He's a pot shotter. He attacks you with a varied arsenal of attacks, but like it's usually like single strikes for the most part. It's like he'll throw a teep, a jab, a step in body hook, a leg kick. You know what I mean? It's all like single shot, and then he's back on the outside kind of deal. And then whenever things get like into the clinch or whatever, because you want to close that space, that's when he can use his wrestling. In the clinch, he has a lot of like trips and takedowns like that, more like on the clinch than like he never really like shoots double legs necessarily for the most part, especially in like recent years. Like early in his career, he did, but for the bulk of his career, he's been more of like a a takedown artist through the clinch, which like he can easily like initiate when people get too close to close the space because he's like attacking them with his long range weapons. I think Stipe needs to like not let him settle on the outside. I think that the longer this fight goes, the more it favors John. I think that John's a tactician in there. I think Stipe's only chance really is just to kind of blitz him, just kind of make it a firefight and just trust that like your hands and your chin can hold up like more than his can. I don't think that with Jones like his like getting knocked out with a punch is the bigger threat. So I think that Stipe should crowd his space, limit the like the number of tools that John Jones can use, and just kind of like wing punches, man. Honestly, just try to get him out of there. The quicker, the better.
Yeah, because John Jones's best attribute, I think by far, is his fight IQ. As the fight goes on, yeah, I don't think it would necessarily favor John because of cardio or anything like that. It would just maybe he's figuring him out, starting to land more shots of his own. I would like to see kind of Stipe try to use his cardio because we know he has 5 round cardio at heavyweight. John Jones, he probably does, but we don't really know. I just want to see him, yeah, like you said, X, just like get in there, man. Try to not go for the knockout. Just go for the knockout. It's probably your last fight. You're old, you're 41, I think, 40. Just go for the knockout. And for John Jones, man, you guys touched on it. Like he's not known for having like big one punch power, but I think John Jones gets a knockout in this fight. I think like it's just one of those performances like heavyweight John Jones. It just like he shuts everyone up with the Aspinall shit. I think he knocks Stipe out either with like a really big strike on the feet or ground and pound with like elbows or something. I don't know. I have no idea which round this could happen in, but like I have John Jones by knockout. How do you guys see the fight going
I
and
see.
the result?
I'm really guessing like my official prediction would be like round three, late round three by like sub or ground and pound. Um, like you said, I think that a big thing that's kind of like slipping people's minds is the fact that the 10-6 elbows are back in action, baby. They're legal. And I think that John Jones has even said that like he is training the 10-6 and he is happy that like that's um allowed again. And I think that it would be a little poetic if he got Stipe out of there, dropped a couple 10-6 elbows on him and like just really from the mount like did some vicious ground and pound, got him out of there. I can That's kind of the path I see.
Yeah, I agree. I think he finishes him either way, to be honest. Most likely I kind of see a ground and pound finish, whether it's from a knockdown or takedown.
Yeah, I think the fight is going to start off really slow, actually. It's going to be a really slow first round, but they're going to start to get in some grappling exchanges, some striking exchanges. I think he'll get taken down multiple times, Stipe, but like not finished right away. I see Stipe winning some striking exchanges, like getting the better of John, but I think he just like pushes forward a little too much and gets like caught by something big and then finished on the ground. All right. Anything else on this one, guys?
The goat's back, baby. I love Tom Aspinall. I fuck with him, but fuck you, Tom
Yeah.
Aspinall.
Oh, yeah. Really quickly, let's talk about like, all right, John Jones wins, whatever. What's the aftermath looking like? Does he retire? Does he fight Aspinall? Does he fight Pereira? What
No,
happens?
I think that John Jones. I have kind of two thoughts on this. Um, for one, I think that he might be trying to like go more money out of the UFC for the Aspinall fight. Like that's gonna have to be like They're gonna have to offer him a fat bag if they want to make that happen. And even then he might not do it, but I kind of have a inkling that like he's just playing ball. You know what I mean? He knows that he only has a couple paydays left, and like he's gonna get everything that he can out of them. You know what I mean? On his way out. But also, I think that like he even said that he'd be willing to vacate the title if he has to go fight Pereira for a BMF title. He joked that like it would be like both of their third belt, if they won. Like so, it's just like a lot of people are looking at that as just like, oh man, John Jones shamelessly ducking Aspinall. But like I'm like I fuck with that. Like he's just trolling on his way out, man, doing what the fuck he wants, and I think that he just earned that. So and plus, like personally, I would rather see that fight. I do agree that like as a hardcore fan, Aspinall would be bigger for his legacy, but I think that the fun fight fan watcher in me like wants to see him fight Pereira just because like that would just be like such a fucking all-timer, man. Like Pereira quickly becoming an all-time great and like I would say he even has more aura than like Stipe, like even at Stipe's prime at this point right now. Like so I think that yeah, I think that I would rather see that fight. And like I hope that he fights them. I don't know. I was gonna say I hope he fights them both. Maybe not. Maybe just fucking fight Alex and get out of there. But like it would be cool if he fights them both, beats them both. But if I had to pick one, I would rather see the Alex fight.
I feel that. I agree with that, honestly. I feel like no matter what, he's not gonna fight Aspinall. I think he's gonna be. I think like one, like if he were to win, which he will, I think he only fights one more time. I don't think he goes two or three or something like weird like that. I think he's one more and then done. And I feel like Hey is just more of a bigger statement made if you beat him, I think, just because of his kickboxing background. The man can thud harder than Francis Ngannou. It would just be I think, a better story to beat Bahia, and honestly, a more winnable fight as well.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't think he fights Asaval. I honestly think he might retire right away. I think he kind of can go either way. John's kind of weird. He'll sometimes, think one way then the other way. So I can see him doing whatever. He's the GOAT. He could just chill, do his thing. He can do whatever, really. So I think if he were to fight, though, he will not fight Aspinall.
I agree.
All right. All right, then let's move on from that. Let's go to the co-main 5 round fight. I believe we got Oliveira versus Chandler. Chandler coming back after like what, 2 years? What was his last fight? Gaethje or Poirier?
Poirier.
It's Poirier. Charles Oliveira coming off that loss at 300 against Armin
Woo!
Saryukin, who's going to be fighting for the belt. This is going to be a banger. This is a rematch. They had, I think it was like 2, 3, it was like 3 years ago. Oliveira got the early second round finish after getting dropped in the first. But this is going to be a banger. This is probably the most exciting fight on the card if you take context away from everything. But Nick, why don't you start us off, buddy?
Woo-hoo-hoo! One of the greats is back in the building. You know, he did lose the last fight, but he kind of just got,
Probably this though. Probably a
yeah,
little more.
Barely.
fair. So, it's not a big whoop. This is a great fight, though. I loved the matchup the first time, and I feel like we're gonna see the exact same thing again. Like, I feel like we're not gonna see that much difference. I think Oliveira's gonna know Chandler's probably not going for takedowns in this fight, and he's just gonna move forward on him the whole time. And I'm not gonna lie, even as a Charles fan, I could see him maybe getting knocked out. Like it's not out of the realm. It's not out of the realm that Chandler can kind of win this fight. It's just like I don't even know what are Chandler's wins at this point. He beat Ferguson,
And Dan Hooker.
Booker.
and Hooker. I mean, the Hooker win is kind of aged well, but I mean, it just feels like he can win these bigger fights. Like he always kind of falls short in these moments. And also, he's just always been kind of a poor IQ fighter.
That's what I was about to say. I was just about to get into that. Like, I feel like that is his biggest problem is just his IQ. I think he has on paper a lot of positive attributes that you would want. He has good power in his hands. He has above average wrestling. He has above average cardio typically, or at least he did back in the day. Um, but like his IQ has always been the problem, man. And I think that that is kind of what I mean, that's not what caused him in the first fight. I think Charles just caught him in the second round. He probably tried to rush him thinking that he had him hurt because he did. He had Oliveira fucked at the end of round one. We all remember it. We were all there. Like, I was on his ass. For you guys who like, are watching this shit, like I was a Michael Chandler fan, when he came to the UFC. Just because I watched him in Bellator for years and shit, and I was just kind of hyped. Um, and so me and Clark did have a bet on that for sure. And like I was talking my shit, and he was talking his shit. Like it was a really back and forth round one. Um, One thing that gives me a lot of confidence, that Michael Chandler could potentially win this fight is the fact that Charles did have his back for like half a round and couldn't really sub him, and he kind of escaped that. So we know that like at bare minimum, Charles can't easily sub him. It's gonna have to be more of like a club and sub or like do it maybe late in the fight on like a gassed out Chandler. And like you said, like you said, Clark, Charles Oliveira's chin is not the strongest. I feel like he always looks like shit on the scales. Like he always looks like a skeleton, like he's about to die. I think that like I don't know how much weight he really cuts. He doesn't seem so big for the weight class, but it just seems like the weight cut just sucks a lot of life out of him. And I think that that does like kind of diminish his chin. Luckily for him, most people won't follow him to the ground once he does get clipped and just go to his guard. But like I don't know. I could see a path for Chandler for sure. Like I don't favor him, but like I could see a path. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility. He can get this win back.
Yeah, no matter what, I don't see this going past. Like I think either one gets finished.
I agree.
At least
I,
I don't see this going decision whatsoever.
I think this will go longer than their first fight, so I think it'll, go past round two. But yeah, it just definitely doesn't go the distance. I'd argue this Oliveira is better than the last time they fought. Like Oliveira, would you guys agree with that? This one's better.
I agree.
Much
Um,
And
better.
th- and we don't know where Chandler is really though.
Why would you say that this Oliveira is better than the first time that they fought?
I feel like he's racked up some really impressive wins since then. He
I mean,
became champion.
Gaethje and Gaethje and
Gaethje and Poirier.
I mean, he became champion against Chandler, no,
yeah, yeah, that
for
was
for the vacant title.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he
And
has a lot more high level experience since the Chandler fight than Chandler does. But I just would say Charles Oliveira's like I feel like no one's chin gets better in this game. That's a real thing, and I think that if he was chinny then, I feel like there's no way that they're both kind of not more chinny now. So I think that they both just have decent potential to knock the other one out.
you
The
could say
only
that
difference,
both
go ahead.
so you could say that both about same thing about both fighters, but like both of them, they get hurt in their fights. Like you look at Oliveira's, not to start you can before that. Pretty much every fight he's gonna knock down, stumble, something like that. Usually he does come back, but Chandler, same thing. He got dropped by Gaethje, he got subbed by Poirier. He gets hurt a lot too. Both these guys have taken a lot of damage. Man, this is a tough one to call. I want to say Chandler just because can you guys imagine if after all the BS that he's went through with Connor, Charles Oliveira just swoops in, submits him, beats him, and takes his Connor fight?
That's kind of what I'm feeling this is for, bro. That's
Oh
I'm
my
not gonna
God.
lie.
That'd
I was
be
gonna get
so
to that next.
terrible.
I kind of feel like this might be like still for the Connor sweepstakes, bro. And like I kind of think that Connor will have a decent shot against both of them. But like it will be so piss poor for Chandler. Like you
He's
miss out on Red Penny Day, you get another loss
2 years out of your career.
to the same guy. Like it's just like man, like all of a sudden Chandler's UFC career looking real sketchy and shoddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so, I think that a win. I think that Chandler can gain a lot more with a win. I think Chandler because he hasn't fought Islam as well. Like he can make another title push. Islam is kind of like starving for worthy contenders that he can fight at this point, and like
Be a fresh matchup.
he needs new names. So I think that Chandler, like you beat the number two guy, boom, you're right in the mix. Like he might be like one fight out or like one inconvenience where like, oh, Islam, can you take Michael Chandler on like relatively short notice? Save a car. Islam's gonna be like, hell yeah, I'll whoop his ass. Like, what the fuck? And then like, you know what I mean? I just think that like he can wiggle his way to a title shot kind of slimily, more of a like not a Khalil Roundtree route, but like just kind of like get kind of a greasy title shot if he just gets a win here. So I think that he has more to gain, but like less to lose, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
like. Michael Chandler is Michael Chandler. He's already taken a lot of losses, including to Charles Oliveira. So I just don't think that like a loss will hurt him so much. I kind of expect him to lose. But a win could be huge for him. So there is a chance that he just comes in motivated as fuck. And he's a competitor. You know, he like Charles does have a win over him. He did take UFC title out of his fucking mouth. So I mean he could get it back, man. He could get it back.
Yeah. I think both of them have really good power. Oliveira's slicker on the feet. I think he's more technical. But yeah, I'm gonna go against the grain here. I'm gonna rock with Michael Chandler in this fight. I see him knocking Oliveira out, getting like it's just an all-time crazy upset. I'm using plot armor a little bit here, but I'm going for the feels, man. I'm taking Michael Chandler by third round TKO.
Oh, that's silly. That's really silly. Third round?
Third round TKO, baby.
Like I would honestly, if you would have said first round, that makes a lot more sense. Because
No, I get what you're saying.
I feel like the longer this fight goes, it actually plays into Oliveira's strengths.
Because I do think Chandler's grappling defense is elite. I think he'll be able to fend Oliveira off long enough.
Yeah, but I think gas tank wise, like Oliveira is at least clearing Chandler's gas tank. I think.
Okay.
I have a bit of a I don't know if it's like I don't know if I see this fight like going a little different than you guys, but I think that in Charles Oliveira's fights, especially in his last fight, I think that against Arman, we saw that like just heavy chest to chest, like good old fashioned wrestling can give Charles Oliveira problems if you can like avoid the subs and aren't scared to just do it. Most fighters that he fights that have quote unquote decent wrestling like Gaethje that I've never seen in my fucking life or like fucking even Poirier is kind of known for having pretty above average grappling. But like Charles Oliveira's grappling is pretty elite. And I think that a lot of these fighters are like kind of they try to avoid the grappling with him. So it's a hole that we don't see exploited as much unless it's against like a Islam type or a competent grappler like Arman. But I think that like Michael Chandler, one of his biggest strengths is his wrestling. And we haven't seen that a lot just because I think that he came to the UFC and just wanted to become like more make up for lost time kind of and just be like exciting fight guy. And I think that that's a part of why we all complain about his IQ not being great. But I think that like he can mix in some wrestling, kind of steal some rounds here and kind of bank some damage if he can like hold top control. So I do kind of think that like Michael Chandler decides to wrestle a little bit, um, and just kind of show us a little bit of another part of his game that we haven't seen too much from him, and like a weakness in Oliveira's game a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead against the grain
Oh
and
shit, too.
pick Michael Chandler one more time, Clark. I could
Go.
regret I
So
could regret it, man, but I just think that like he's been training his ass off to fight Connor as well. So I think that he's been motivated this whole time. I think he's gonna be happy to get back in there. Pretty probably fresh and well rested. I can just see him like having I mean, granted, like I know most of this time training spent training for Connor, he probably wasn't running grappling jujitsu and shit, but like take like a submission defense and shit. But I do imagine that he was probably working his wrestling a lot, probably not wanting to just stand and trade with Connor, probably wanting to like push on his gas tank and kind of like wrestle him around. We know that Connor has a tendency to get tired if forced to grapple for too long. So I do kind of imagine that he spent a lot of his training for Connor, time training for Connor, like working on his wrestling and shit like that, honing in on that more so. So I do kind of like think that like we might just see a little bit of a different, more motivated Chandler here. So I'm gonna take him as well. Against my better judgment.
Dang, Clark, you're all alone on this one.
hey, Connor, get your tickets ready for Rio, baby.
I'm dead as well.
Can you guys imagine though if Chandler just gets like fucking knocked out or submitted in the first round? Like it would just be so terrible for him in his career if he loses this fight.
He's very likely to lose, Ed. That's why he's the underdog.
Like he finally budges to take a fight that's not Conor McGregor, and it's
It,
against a really dangerous guy, and it would be so terrible if he lost.
it would, but it's like he's kind of like at the end of his career. Like I feel like he's kind of done everything. He wasn't the UFC champion, but like this is like an MVP mission for him. Like
Fact.
to get out real quick and like not hold on to it very long and then just kind of retire.
Okay.
Like I feel like at that point that's all he's trying to do, like get it real quick and then he'll retire. So I don't know.
Getting
I mean,
back.
yeah, it would be devastating to his UFC career because I feel like his UFC career hasn't been like it's been great, but like
Not
I
the
mean,
most productive.
yeah, I
Just
mean,
it's
lost,
exciting. It's
but
exciting.
like it's
Yeah.
exciting, but he's losing most of his fights. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't think it would. Yeah, it would destroy the UFC career wise, but most of the rest of his career, he's a legend. I don't think most of what he does at this point matters.
I agree.
All right, let's start new Zoom. Guys, the rest of this card is going to take a bit of a dip. We're going to go to the featured fight of the night. Paul Craig versus Bo Nickel. A minus 1,200 favorite for Bo Nickel, plus 750 for Paul Craig. Obviously showcase fight for Bo Nickel. Huge step up in competition from Cody Brundage. Paul Craig has some very impressive wins on his resume. Beats the likes of Jamal Hill, Ankalaev, but has a lot of losses also in between those. This is a weird one. Odds are crazy. What are you guys expecting from this fight? And obviously, more specifically, Bo Nickel.
You can start, Clark.
Uh this is a weird one because it feels like almost they put Paul Craig here as a trap for Bo Nichols specifically, since he's such a fiendish grappler and submission artist. Like it almost feels like a trap that they want Paul Craig to challenge him in that aspect, and the fact he's a plus 650, which seems a little crazy to me. Like I get Bo Nickel being
Plus 750.
yeah, like a minus 750, like that makes sense. Like minus 1,000, I think is pretty crazy. Uh, how the fight's actually going to go? I mean, I can see it. I honestly can kind of see Bo Nickel, if he's smart, doing something very similar to what Ohio did versus Paul Craig. Because is Paul Craig a southpaw, right? You go
I'm not sure.
southpaw.
I'm not sure. All I know is Paul Craig be on his back all the time. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think that the fight starts with Paul Craig until it's on the ground, really.
yeah, no, but Bo Nickel fights a good southpaw, and I just feel like if he stays on the feet, he honestly could easily clip Paul Craig in this fight. 3 rounder. I think he could also out wrestle him and probably avoid the submissions because I think he is probably good enough in that aspect. But I think the easy path here, if Bo is smart, is just to stay on the feet, pump out a jab. I think he definitely has the power edge in this fight pretty easily from what I've seen. Um, and honestly, if he stays on the feet, I think he could get him out of there. I think if he involves the wrestling, grappling, like I mean, he very well may, that's his bread and butter. I think it becomes a lot. I mean, he could obviously just like drown him down there, and it's kind of a boring fight. But I think it becomes more chaotic if the grappling becomes involved. He
Yeah, I
should try
agree.
to do what Ohio did, and just kind of piece him on the feet.
Yeah, man. Paul Craig has lost 4 out of his last 5, which is kind of just crazy to think about. He's always in danger, I feel like, on the feet. Yeah, I would just if I was Bo Nickel, man, just go out there try to knock his ass out, bro. Don't overcomplicate it. Minus 1200 is kind of crazy, but I mean it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I kind of see this being more of a knockout or at worst like a club and sub win for Boneco. I will say that like just straight wrestling without like any kind of damage done to Paul Craig might not be the best move for Boneco, or at least like not playing in Paul Craig's guard at least. Um, like Paul Craig has shown him like I feel like in a position where most people are like very vulnerable, I feel like that is like where I think that he has the best chance to win almost any fight he's in when he's on the bottom. He's one of the few fighters I actually feel that way about, but it's because like he's been clipped so many times on the feet. His striking is not great. I don't think his cardio is great. And so like when you add all that up together, it's like Bo Nickel in on paper should just stay off the ground and just should be able to knock him out. I think that like that's kind of what I'm feeling we see, but like if Paul Craig is able to survive and take this fight longer, I do think that we're gonna have to see some grappling. I don't think Bo Nickal has like the kind of stand-up skills, or at least we haven't seen it yet, to just keep a fight on the feet the whole time. We saw that in his last fights, Brundis was making them uncomfortable on the feet at points. Um, and I think that like that was off like the one takedown that Brundage was able to stop, and then it got kind of interesting for a second until Bo was able to inevitably get him down. But um, I just know that like I'm sure that Bo is training a lot, and he's probably making like drastic strides every time we see him in there. Um, but like from what I've seen off Bo so far, I have not seen the skills to confidently pick him in a 3 round straight up striking fest. So I think that like if this fight does go on longer, which I don't really expect it to, but if it does, then I think that Paul Craig might get a little more interesting on the feet. And then if Bo Nickel has to shoot some desperation takedowns as opposed to like normal takedowns or club and sub takedowns, then I think Paul Craig might be a little more like live for the submission. But overall, like this is a nice little step up in comp for Bo Nickel. We know what's supposed to happen here. We know what the UFC and most of the fans want to happen. That's what I think is going to happen. Bo Nickel's going to get this dub.
Yeah. Like, what do you guys think would happen? Let's just say Bo Nickel goes out there, beats Paul Craig really convincingly. What kind of step? Another? Do you want to see another step up in competition? Someone around Paul Craig's level? Like, what do you guys want to see after this for Bo Nickel if everything goes as planned?
I mean, when we look at the middleweight rankings, right? There are a lot of problematic guys at the top of it. But I do think that like on the low end, like I think I could see maybe giving him Michel Pereira, which we've seen he can't wrestle for shit and he gasses out like a motherfucker. So like that's pretty much like I feel like you still have to build him up slowly. Even if we want to give him a ranked guy, I think that like once we get to like even like Polo Costa, even like Fluffy Hernandez might be a little bit of a issue. Not to say I wouldn't favor Bo Nickel in any of these fights. I'm just saying like in terms of what I've seen so far, like you don't want to jump him up too soon and like kill his momentum. Plus, he's only like 29, I think. Like he has time, so like I think that like if you really want to get him ranked, Michel Pereira, just because stylistically, I think it's just a good matchup for him. As long as he can stay safe from the crazy strikes in round one, like we've seen that Michel has no type of cardio and can get taken down pretty easily once he's gassed. So I think that Bo can have decent success there. Then maybe literally give him I don't know if I don't know if the UFC wants to kill Sharo's momentum, but like I feel like that's a winnable fight for Bo as well.
That'd be a cool
Uh,
one.
but yeah, I think that they have options, but I would give him maybe Michel Pereira just at 15. Just barely rank him and just kind of build him up slow.
Yeah, I agree. Around there, like gatekeeping top 15 area, someone like that.
Facts.
Okay. All right, though. Let's move on to the next fight. We got let's see, women's flyweight. We got Karine Silva versus Vivian Araujo.
Mm.
Silva, a pretty huge favorite, 265. She's won her last four, I think, three out of the last four, maybe. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
Let me see her last couple opponents. Let me try to. Okay, so she beat De
It's kind of crazy
Silva.
that this is on the main card.
Beat De Silva. I mean, this card is shit. First of all, I think there are just better fights like under this, to be
Yeah, for
honest.
sure. Like, put
Like
Chris
they
Weid. I know, put Chris Weidman on the main card,
let
bro.
him kick that bitch off. Like I
Come
don't know
on.
what they're going, man. They're being out of pocket and disrespectful with this shit, honestly.
Oh, this Martinez fight's really good. We were talking about it earlier. Him versus McGee.
Hmm.
That's a good one. That's way better than the women's fight, respectfully.
Respectfully. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about this fight. It's like
I wish I had more to say. Clark, give us an in-depth breakdown, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I feel like Karine Silva, she just got to the UFC like not too long ago. Like, I think she's only been in the UFC for like a year or two. She's been dominant since she's gone here. She's looked good, grappling, striking, kind of all around fighter. Uh, but I'd say she's like a very good wrestler and grappler. And I feel like that's like Arugio's biggest strengths. So I feel like, and Arugio, she's a gas out merchant constantly. She's older now, I think. Yeah, she's 37. You know, only 12 and 6. I mean, damn, she like barely fights, I guess. She's been in the rankings forever, kind of holding up a spot, I guess. She can pull out some wins for sure here to there. But I feel like it's against opponents who are way like worse deficiency in grappling compared to like Silva, who I think is a pretty high level from what I've seen. So I think she should just win this fight, being the up and comer, undefeated in the UFC. I don't know if she's finished everyone she's fought, but I know she has a couple finishes here so far. So she really should just win this fight. It's kind of a whatever fight for the main guard. Like it shouldn't be on the main guard, but I guess they're just pumping Green Silva up. I think that's what they're trying.
Alrighty. Let's move on to the card opener. A little more exciting. We got James Lomtop versus Marcio Ruffy out of the Fighting Nerds coming off that knockout win against Malarkey. Minus 850 favorite for Ruffy. I think we're all expecting a knockout here. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
I mean, we haven't gotten to see much off Ruffy so far in the UFC, but that's like you said, because he just sparked Malarkey just fast as a motherfucker. Um, so I mean, like, there's a lot of questions that I have, but like, I trust the fucking fighting nerds. I trust Ruffy, man. I don't know who fucking James Linthrop is.
I've never seen this man in my life,
Oh,
bro.
no, I did see, bro. He lost to Borishev, bro. He's 0-2 in his UFC career, bro. He just lost to Borishev, like, and what was a close fight? It was a close fight. I'm not gonna lie. I do remember this fight. He did
Yeah,
he did
he
he
was
did
eating
give
them.
Borishev some go, and he has grit. I will say he has grit. He had to grit through that fight. But Borishev and Rufi are not the same level of punching powers here. And I think that at least from what I've seen of Rufi so far, I think that the expectation is that he gets sparked here. Um, but yeah, clearly a showcase fight for the fighting nerds and Ruffy here.
Yeah, back to back weeks.
Yep. I mean, they're fucking
They're on
hottest
fire.
team of the year, bro. Hottest team of the year, bro. They had John Jones cage side, fucking throwing on the glasses and shit, like at the from the last card like a week ago. Like it's up there, man. It's up there for the fighting nerds. I fuck with them.
All right. Anything else on the main card you guys want to talk about before we move to the prelims?
I mean, this next fight is way more worthy than the last two. Like the ending prelim fights actually fucking heat. Like
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, yeah. Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee. Martinez coming off that loss against Aldo. Pretty close fight though. Who did McGee beat last?
I don't know.
I'm not
I'll
sure, but
This is a
uh,
big step up in comp. Let me
yeah.
Bolaños. He beat Bolaños.
I'm riding with Martinez here. He's a slight underdog. What do you guys think how this one's gonna play out?
I think that I understand taking Martinez as an underdog here. We've definitely seen a lot more against higher level opponents from Martinez. I think that I fuck with McGee's game though. Like
do.
he's kind of a fucking dog in there, man. And he hits like hard as a motherfucker. I think he has the power advantage here. I could see him potentially having like a wrestling advantage here, just because he's strong as fuck. And I think that Martinez tends to struggle sometimes with like opponents that can overpower him. Um, he's more of like a volume man. He doesn't really dictate fights with like his power or his like physicality. So I could see him kind of getting bullied early here, or like at least just pushed around the cage, like being on the back foot, especially early. My biggest question mark comes in like one, like can Martinez eat some shots off McGee, and two, like can McGee keep the pressure up for 3 rounds against like an opponent of this caliber? That's just something that we haven't seen. And like, if I'm not mistaken, he's a little bit older. He's like 30. He's in like like mid to upper 30s, I
34.
believe. 34.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too old, but like, I mean, at these lower weight classes, that like the lower weight class fighters age a lot faster, so that must be taken into account here. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick McGee just because I think momentum wise, like he's been rolling and like. I think that he should be able to like push Martinez around the cage. I don't think like he might be able to finish him, he might not, but I think that he can at least land the bigger shots here, at least early enough to bank 2 rounds. I could see if he kind of gasses a little bit or slows down his output, and Martinez starts to take over towards the later half of the fight just with his experience and shit. But I think that it might be a little too late at that point to salvage like I think a 29-28 decision for McGee. I'm gonna predict.
Kind of convinced me. I could kind of see it going either way. I'm surprised McGee's the favorite though, I will
I am
say.
surprised. It's
But
just
I
momentum.
yeah, but I do agree with what you said. I like his game. I like what he can do in there. Powerful guy. He can wrestle very well too. There's some submission game in him. Powerful on the feet, aggressive. And Martinez has struggled against those types of fighters in the past. Uh, Even got knocked out by Davy Grant, I believe, a while ago. It was a good while ago, but I kind of see this going. I don't know how McGee's leg game is in terms of checking the leg kicks. I think that's a big factor when fighting Martinez. And I don't
Oh,
know how that part of his game is. So it's kind of this is kind of a toss up where I can see it going two different ways. I feel like it could definitely be like a 29-28 type fight. I feel like if anyone's gonna get a finish, probably would be McGee. Um, but I don't know. I think that's an interesting fight. I can see it kind of being an entertaining one for us.
Definitely.
who do you think
And then
gets the dub? You gotta be the tiebreak.
Uh,
It's okay.
I'll roll McGee, but I don't love it.
I feel that. I don't love it either, to be honest.
and then before this, we have two old heads, two OGs of the game fighting. Got Weidman taking on Eric Anders and Jim Miller taking on Damon Jackson. So I low key kind of want to pick both of them winning their fights there.
What,
Not gonna
Anders?
lie. Yeah, Eric Anders
He might be your boy, but he ain't my boy. All right, give me fucking Chris Weidman. All right, fuck you, mean
from New
Chris
York, bro.
for New York, man. I just think that he has a much more well-rounded game. I think that his striking, even though he's old as fuck, it might not be what it once was, but I still think it's better than Eric Anders. I think he has more tools, and I don't think that Eric Anders is gonna be able to just muscle him around and like out wrestle him. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I guess Eric Anders just win against Jeremy Pickett? Yeah. So I think that like people are kind of riding a little high on him. He looked better than I've seen him in a while in his last fight, Anders. I will give him that. I thought he was kind of done, and he kind of proved that he had a little bit left in the tank in his last fight. But I don't know, man. New York vibes. I think this might be Whiteman's retirement fight, honestly, if he wins or whatever. Like I
That'd
just
be
kind of
nice.
what better way to end it than a John Jones, you know what I mean, card? I don't know. Like this is the biggest stage he will get, I think, the rest of his career. Why not end it, especially if he can get a win here? And I think Eric Anders is just beatable, especially the longer the fight goes. I think it just would favor Whiteman's experience and like technical striking ability, I think, a little bit more. Plus, like I don't think that Eric Anders will have the wrestling advantage or the like he'll have the strength advantage probably and youth advantage, but like I think that Whiteman's wrestling is has always been one of his biggest strengths and or his biggest strength literally and like I think that technically he'll just have enough to like at least like get some type of win some scrambles against Anders or just I just think he can barely it might not look pretty but I think he just gets it done, man, grits it out one more time for the fucking New York fans and then calls it a career.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like Anders is a goof fighter sometimes. Like I just feel like he just like does the most ridiculous shit. The lowest of the low IQs, high IQ sometimes. Like, and he's a get like I have liked the comeback from him the last few years, but his biggest fault is always going to be the gas tank. He always gasses out, and the way he fights is like such high pressure and like grit too. Like he's just always gonna gas out the way he fights. So I gotta pick Weidman.
Because he's not technical, so like everything is like all athleticism and like fucking landing big shots if he's gonna get you down to the ground, it's gonna be like a muscle takedown, not like a technique takedown. It's like everything is just high energy movements and shit. That's why he gasses out. Like, and I think that Weidman, he might have like he might have to go through some early adversity, but I think that like once the fight slows down, gets into like round two, round three, I
Yeah.
think that the superior fighter mentally will take over here.
If he could beat Bruno Silva, he could beat Manders, I think.
I agree.
All right, guys. Well, I think that about does it. What do you guys think is gonna be a big? What's up?
Miller. We gotta talk about Jim
Oh,
Miller.
yeah, my bad. You're right. I think he
Fucking,
gets this. I think he wins this fight, bro. I think against Damon Jackson, he's lost what, like 4 out of his last 5.
I think he does too, Ed.
I'm
Let's
also
go.
I'm
Let's
taking
go.
fucking big dick Jim Miller, man. Like
The
fucking
old
Ben,
heads.
man. He damn near was in the UFC probably before fucking John Jones, it feels like at least. So fuck, like
You gotta pick him.
yeah, I think Mayhem gets the fucking job done here. Ideally, maybe by sub, man. And I unlike Whiteman, I don't want to see Jim Miller retire. I want him to fucking just keep this shit rolling, man.
Try to make it to 400.
I have not seen such a fall off from Jim Miller. Like even in his last fight, he got his ass whooped against Bobby Green, but like that's Bobby Green.
This is a bad matchup here.
This is a terrible matchup, but I think this is a lot more of a winning fight for him. Damon Jackson likes to like grapple a lot, so I'm taking Jim Miller here.
Same. Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else we need to talk about?
I was I was gonna say, what do you guys think is gonna be a bigger fight? Just like in general, the public. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, or John Jones and Stipe.
Ah,
Also,
Probably,
yeah,
probably Mike Tyson, dude.
yeah, it has to be,
Probably.
unfortunately.
I just think that like
Right?
I think everyone's mother knows that like fucking Mike Tyson's fighting again, as
Yeah.
opposed to like so I think and plus it's just on Netflix casually.
And
It's a lot
not
more
it's not
accessible.
Netflix, like
Yeah,
It's just on Netflix casually. Like I just think that like
have the edge there.
yeah, I think that they just have the edge off that, but I think that any real fight fans knows that like even though these fights are kind of being looked at similarly, really, like everyone's looking at fucking
too
Stipe
old.
like he's Mike Tyson's age, but like at the end of the day, he's not, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the Mike Tyson fight's way more of a circus atrocious like atrocity.
I feel like but like how that fight actually is in reality is how people are treating the John Jones Stipe fight, and it's like 42 not that old, y'all. Not for a heavyweight, bro. Come
Yeah,
on.
like we just need to put all of our willpower into Mike Tyson winning that fight. Like it would just be such a huge L to the culture seeing Mike Tyson's old ass get slept by Jake Paul. We can't let that happen, guys.
How old is this man?
This man's
Oh, you're in,
59, I think.
Oh,
y'all.
okay. You below 60 for
So you're
real?
below 60.
He's like
Okay.
50.
You got a shot. You got a shot. You
Bro.
below 60.
How many rounds is this? Four? I hope
I think it's
four.
eight 2-minute rounds, I think.
I don't know.
Dude, so
On Netflix.
on Netflix, watch Mike Tyson get slept by Jake Paul. Woo.
We gotta have like a fucking we gotta recover that shit as well, bro. Fuck it.
Man, dude. All right, well, that concludes the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching our UFC 309 recap. We're gonna have some other videos coming out this week, probably. Maybe one about the Mike Tyson fight. Make sure to check out our TikTok and the shorts, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.